The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Welcome to Kisumu Region edition of the Great Debaters Contest, and I'm your host, Austin Yombok.
I am Mariam Bishar. Today we're trying to find out if climate change is a myth. St. Mary's Yala goes versus Nyalunya Secondary School, and they'll answer this question for us. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
With warmest regards to my worthy opponents, my potential judges, and you, my audience, climate change is a myth. Climate is the normal weather conditions of a place. Climate change are the changes in the weather, including changes in temperature, wind patterns, and rainfall. A myth is an idea, a story, which many people believe in, but which may or may not be true or does not exist. Climate change is obviously a myth. We all know this deep down. Some of you here have been taken by the fear-mongering governments or corrupt scientists and have been brainwashed into thinking that climate change is a real thing that threatens all humanity. Now, climate change or global warming or Womageddon or planetary death spiral or whatever it is that they're calling it these days doesn't stand up to scrutiny. Nobody is claiming that climate change is simple. But the myth here is that there is a wrong information about climate. That there's change too much there. There's exaggerated emphasis about climate. I am your first speaker, Wycliffe Otieno. First, take changes in sea level. These scientists keep on banging on about the warming of the atmosphere causing rising sea levels. But what if that is happening? We'd have seen it by now. It's been countless decades since they first started predicting this. But here we still are. But they persist and they try to convince us that this is a real threat. Come on. They are trying to cite places that were supposedly lost to the waves. They want us to believe that Atlantis used to exist. Besides, I thought warmer climates brought less nasty weather. Global warming will mean nicer weather in the United Kingdom, more Indian summers, and less of British drizzle. Right? Yeah, right. Second of all, and where does this rise in the sea level supposedly come from? They're telling us that this rise comes from melting glacial ice. So you want us to believe that at any point massive blocks of ice were just floating around in the ocean. I mean, if you've ever had a drink and then you put ice cubes in that drink, it will not take more than 5 minutes before these ice cubes melt. Come on. They're not even trying to convince us anymore. These are the same scientists who predicted that rockets won't ever leave planet Earth. How many journeys have been made to space? Answer that for yourself. Now, they also say that the invention of the speed trains will lead to deaths because the human beings, the pedestrians, wouldn't be able to survive in such speeds. Now, we're embracing electrical trains now. Kenya is going through the standard gauge railway. Come on. And first of all, they say that they have countlessly come back to say that the world will end. In 1999, for example, they said that the world would end on 31st December at 12. Now, I, Wycliffe Otieno, I was born in 2000. Am I not a living testimony that these scientists are lying to us? Come on. Climate change is an obvious myth. How much more evidence do you need, people? To what end will these publications and attention drawn by climate change go? Ask yourself that question. If you're not part of the answer, change your view of the thought. Let thy words be few. Thank you.
First proposer, you have 3 minutes to make your argument.
Climate change is real and not just a myth. The effects have been felt far and wide all over the corners of the world. To my first point, global average temperature has been rising steadily. This has resulted in terrible problems over the Earth's surface, and the results have immensely affected humankind. To the second point, there are prolonged droughts and dry spells. Take an example of Turkana. Like never before, this results in low agricultural productivity in many parts of the world, thus disturbing the food sufficiency in a state. For example, the Turkanas, they have the problem of food shortage. To the third point, there is increase in rainfall in the wetter regions of the world, and the deserts have become more drier due to global warming. The main cause of climate change. The fourth point, snow caps in the temperate regions, polar regions are melting due to increase in the global temperatures. The melt water flow into the oceans, hence raising the sea levels that may cause floodings on the coastal areas. Another problem, ice caps of the mountain in the tropics, e.g. Mount Kenya, retreat due to global warming. This may cause drying of some rivers, thus affecting human activities. An example is when in some parts of Turkana, there is food shortage, and this we can refer to the example in 2016 and 2017 droughts in Eastern Africa. Thank you.
We'll hear rebuttals now. Proposition, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Teddy Joseph Ochieng. Others call me TJ. The choice is yours to make. Now, our fellows from the other side have talked about snow caps melting. Now, I want to pose a very simple question. We have been given an example. If you sit wherever you are with a glass of water inside, put an ice cube inside, how many minutes are going to be spent before that ice cube melts? Approximately 5 minutes. Now, how are these scientists trying to tell us that snow caps have existed at the poles for 5 million years without melting? We would have experienced the adverse effects of snow caps by now. They have talked about global warming leading to terrible effects. My question is, what effects are these? What are the problems that society is grappling with at the moment? There has to be a reason, ladies and gentlemen, that the first goal, sustainable development goals, is no poverty and not climate action or climate change, anything related to climate change. Keep your fingers crossed and open your inner ears, folks, because I sense a feeling of powerlessness, skepticism, and doubt in the facts that scientists have given us, some of which have been presented to us. An overwhelming balloon-like feeling, which I wish to puncture with your permission. Now, on to my first point. Scientists have, in the advent of the introduction of speed trains, claimed that no human soul is able to survive at such drastic speeds. Yet, Kenya is currently ongoing with the project of the standard gauge railway. Now, 1 week after the official opening of the standard gauge railway in Mtito and Dei, more than 7,000 Kenyans have begun using them. Tell me of a single death that has happened because of such an introduction of speed trains. Some of other apocalyptic predictions by scientists include, these scientists have introduced the idea of using solar energy. Now, some few minutes before our debate started, we had ran out of electricity. Am I right? And for some weird reason, electricity kept on coming back, going off, coming back, going off. Now, this is a solution which scientists claim would have been solved by solar energy. Yet they parade facts and statistics here before us, whining about too much sunny days. Now, don't forget that they claim that the climate change causes conditions such as hurricanes, storms, and whirlwinds. Yet they want us to harness the same kinetic energy for use. Now, what exactly do these scientists and opposition want? Prevention is better than cure, they say. But how can you prevent something you have no control over? Just as Trump prioritized the national interest of development of his country, USA, by withdrawing from the Paris Agreement that was formed in 2015, so should we. I mean, thou shalt not put a blanket rule of blame and responsibility of climate action on us, a third world continent. Yet the first world continents are well and way ahead of the game. The solution he offers the proposers, very simple. Let us tackle more issues, more grappling issues that society faces, other than whining and wasting so much time about climatic action, which has been given so much attention. Thank you.
Opposition will hear your rebuttal as well. You have 3 minutes.
Something disgusting has just happened. How is standard gauge railway related to climate change being a myth? That was just by the way. Kenyatta Zabib, they call me that, from Nyalunya High School. I stand here to strongly oppose the motion that states climate change is a myth. Automatically, climate change is not a myth. It's reality, it's the truth, it's happening. We know that it is happening. Because someone cannot just come and tell me that, Zabib, today you are Judge Maina. And yet I'm not him. Automatically he is male and I'm female. It cannot happen. Why do we have to say that this thing is a myth? And that we know that it is not a myth, it's reality. For example, climate change has led to unpredictable weather patterns, which lead to floods, and floods cause vector-borne diseases such as malaria. And who will this malaria kill? Our parents, our friends, and also, let me say, teachers, parents, friends, children, everybody in the society. And I strongly say that it is not true. Climate change is real. We see it in our day-to-day lives. There is also increase in wetter regions in parts of the world, and the deserts have become more drier due to global warming. Main cause of climate change. We all know the effects of global warming, and it's the fact, it's the reality that it indeed happens. It is said that average global temperature has not increased since 1995 and declined since 2000, despite the introduction of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. We know what carbon dioxide normally do in the atmosphere that cause the ozone layer. We know it. So we are told that the late 20th century average global temperature rise was at the rate of 1 to 2 century, which lies with 10,000 years. Average global warming has been warmer than today. Many times in the recent global past. This thing is reality, is the truth. We are told that it changes from day to day lives. For example, rising in the sea levels. It changes from place to place, time to time. Suppose it will have not been the truth. Will we have been here? No, it's not truth. It is the truth indeed. It is not a myth. We cannot just challenge there is an increased rainfall. Climate change may lead to unpredictable weather patterns, which induce flood that may result to increase in vector-borne diseases. For example, malaria. I'll quit by a quote that go, we have to face the reality of climate change. It is arguably the biggest threat we are facing today. Thank you.
The proposers have been asked to clarify about what they said about the fastest train on Earth and the SGR, and the opposition have been asked how is global warming affecting the Earth, that is if climate change is not a myth. We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Well, the issue about the fastest train in the world, my name is Jirel Rabok, proposing the motion that climate change is a myth. Now, before the implementation of trains in the UK, critics mainly from the citizen claimed that the speed of 180 kilometers or 230 kilometers will cause suffocation in the train. But as you can see nowadays, most of us are traveling on trains. Even some of us are planning to travel on trains soon. That's why I was saying that the trains, it's just a statement calling on the scientists that they used to claim that when you travel on trains, you might die. And then right now, we're also traveling on trains. You see what I mean about that? Are we together about that? Yes. Now, we have had the opposers speaking about global warming this, global warming that, global warming in this place, global warming in that place. Okay. When human beings can't solve a problem, you have a tendency of ignoring it and giving it a big name, hence the name climate change. Climate change itself is a storm in a teacup, a big white elephant joke. Isn't this planet supposed to be getting hotter? But South Korea is experiencing cold conditions where people get frostbites. I mean, if it is supposed to be global warming, shouldn't we, like all of us, wearing tank tops or stuff, or not even wearing our sweaters? The Earth has been heated and cooled throughout its history. Climate change is a natural phenomenon. It should not be something that to be based on something big. Precisely, besides, the other more pressing issues rather to debate on climate change, which is nuclear war. That is something that is also a fact and is true. Something like bioengineering pandemic or superintelligence that prevent human beings from creating things that, like nuclear bombs that will eradicate the world. When you speak about climate change, that is a big, and as we speak, big white elephant joke. We can't even predict the weather conditions of tomorrow. Yeah, we can't. I remember a certain situation when a certain media, names withheld, say that there was going to be a rainy day. And I wound up carrying my umbrella, but the next day it was quite sunny. Now, if we can't predict the weather conditions of tomorrow, what makes you think we can predict the weather conditions of 100 years to come? Think about it. I mean, you are the guys who are going to be affected by this decision, whether you try to put it that climate change is a myth or not. But for the proposers, we stand firm on the saying that climate change is a myth. There are more pressing issues to discuss rather than climate change. Think about it. We are human beings. We have adapted. We will survive the global warming if there is something like global warming. We will survive the tornadoes, the storms, everything, temperature, heat wave, because we are human beings. Nothing in this world can conquer human beings, including itself. What? Climate change. That's a myth. On the stage, proposing the motion that climate change is a myth is Durel Rabok. Thank you.
Opposition, you may respond. You have 3 minutes.
Climate change, a myth. Since when? Since when? They were there. They gave birth to me. They named me. They call me now Obare J. Awor. I'm here to answer the question that was asked, that how is global warming affecting the world? Let us take an example, a good example of Kenya. The last few months, we experienced a drought due to what? The warming. This causes catastrophic effects in Kenya. For example, the drought, Turkana. What is causing that? Climate, global warming. It's due to that. They cannot have good climate changes that can help them to sustain. Well, they can adapt, yes, but how long will it take them to adapt to these changes that are associated with global warming? So let not you be lied to that global warming does not cause any effects. Instead, it has got effects that are catastrophic and can really kill in a short time. Yes, I was talking about climate change as a fact. It isn't a myth. As a geographer, I know that climate change is indeed a fact. Let us take an example of the sea level, like Tuvalu. From 1955 to 1996, it decreased. The sea level decreased by 105 millimeters. It decreased, and it is seen. It is not a myth. It is a real thing that happens. Ancestors lived for 150 years. We've experienced the global warming. They have seen it. 150 years above, there was a rise in the sea level by 1 to 2 millimeters. So let us not be lied to, brethren, that climate change is a myth. Climate change is indeed a real thing. The emission of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere causes global warming. Then after it, what? David Haventon argues and says that climate change is something that is there, but let us not remain and see it happening, thinking that it is a myth. Let us stand up and all of us fight to see that it is over. So please, dear brethren, it is not a lie that climate change is real. Climate change, it is not a lie that it is real. Instead, it is a lie. And I want to completely disagree with my opponents when they say that the average global temperature has increased. It has not increased. Within the era bounds, the AGT has not increased since 1995, and it has declined in 2002, It has decreased. Let us look at the meteorologists. We agree with them, and we say that increase in storms has not occurred beyond the association with natural variation. Instead, it is human cause. Please, let us not be lied to that climate change is a myth. Climate change is a fact, and it is real. If we close our eyes and we bound with that it is a myth, then sit down, be affected, and you will see. Thank you.
Thank you. Final statements. Proposition, you have a minute.
My dear audience, the difference between great scientists and us great debaters is that these great scientists of doom who are giving us logics, facts, is that we great debaters, we reason with these facts of theirs instead of following them blindly. Are we not all great debaters? Yes, we are great debaters. Let us reason. Now, as we eat the dish of facts, let us strive to spice them up with the salt of logic and reason. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wait, 13. Standard development goal number 13. climate action. Instead of giving too much emphasis and attention that is undeserved to climate change, let us brainstorm on solutions to address this issue. That is the solution. The solution, rather than wasting time here debating whether or not climate change is a myth. Thinking well is good, planning well is better, doing well is best. Mark you, opposition. A myth is a story that may or may not exist. Now, if you oppose that climate change is not a myth, where do you stand? By the way, see a doctor for your allergy. Thank you.
Opposition, you have a minute as well.
We have no choice but to accept that climate change is a fact. The change will always be there. It will always be there. Whether we close our eyes, whether we say it is a myth, the change will always be there. So what do? We stand up and fight the climate change. See whatever that we can do to stop that will be brought about by the effects of climate change. Instead of sitting back with our behinds and sitting down thinking that climate change is a myth, let us stand up and face the reality that climate is indeed changing. It isn't a myth. It is a reality.
Yala, I want also to state that you have done a great deal in coming up with the facts and going to the issues, but you do not have the source of the information and the data you're giving. I did not hear any kind of documented fact, but I want to say, I heard someone talking about snow caps and all that, and the speed rates and all that. We wanted to hear whether there is any point of reference. As for Nyalunya, I want to commend Obare, J.O. for having saved the whole thing, because the first, that is Franklin Odhiambo and Zabib, you lost the gist of it all. You read so much, you lacked mastery of what? The topic, and you depended on what you were reading rather than also giving us the eye contact which is supposed to be with us. And that was the undoing for that particular side. However, I want to note that Obare has actually done it, and congratulations, Obare, for having done that spirited thing. And for all of us, I want us to note that we again lacked the source of the data we were giving, though passionate. So we need to go to that and do something precisely.
St. Mary's, I think you are arguing from a very difficult point, and thanks for being very passionate and for trying to bring out your points clearly. However, I thought there was some repetition between the first speaker and the second speaker, so just make sure you consolidate your points beforehand so that you're not saying the same thing over and over again. For Nyalunya, I think for Zabib, you are a pretty passionate speaker, and I think what you need is a bit more confidence, so you need to look up at the crowd. However, you are very good. You just need to believe in yourself, and you can do even better than that. Congratulations to both the teams.
Let's begin with Nyalunya Secondary School. The judges saw it fit to award you 63%. Please give them a round of applause. Our winners for the day are St. Mary's Yala with 69%. Give them a round of applause as well.
Congratulations to the two teams on stage for such a wonderful debate. We'd also like to thank you, our studio audience, and our viewers back home. Keep the conversation going. Hashtag GDC for SDGs. I have been your host, Austin Nyombok.
I am Mariam Bishar. We'll see you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.